Hi, my name is Chris Allan. I'm Infernal Depart on Twitter, and these are just a few ideas to try for starters and plenaries in the classroom. It's entitled is a little bit of Bert Ernie, but that'll hopefully come in a little while. Starting out teaching 15 years ago, this was a must-have book for an ICT teacher. Those out there might have seen this before with 100 and what red hot starters. Another one that's maybe worth checking out is Nick Jackson's 50 starters for ICT Curric, with a range of different starters that are out there, from spreadsheets to thinking skills, etc. That isn't a picture of myself and Nick, even though we do love ICT Curric. But one of the things that I have been doing is having a letter of the day or a letter of the week for thinking time in class. And students watch whichever video is for that particular day of the week. For example, this one here is Bert Ernie for the letter L. That's just for one example. For example, so the students then either have a little bit of time during class to come up with as many ICT terms that begin with the letter L, and in some cases we all collaborate together and put it on a primary pad. So this is the output of one particular lesson that the students used. Google Docs is one great tool that we use in class, and all students use an AFL form, which is the example like the one there, which they use to evaluate their own work either at the start, during or at the end of lessons, either evaluating their own work or their peers, and they share this with each other, and that then populates a spreadsheet that is behind it. This one is empty, that they then use when they are drafting their projects as they move along. Another one reason of using Google Docs has been another thing that's underpinned each particular project, whereby students have been using Google Docs to set their own success criteria. So this is the old programmer study, as it's called, with the levels 4, 5 and 6, and what students do is they have a slide each and they set their own success criteria. That then informs the feedback from themselves and also from their peers when they're actually doing their work. One other thing, and I've blogged about this quite recently, is the use of infographics. This is from the Information is Beautiful website, and it's a great way of promoting discussion at the start of a lesson. For example, when we're looking at censorship online, this is a great infographic to show that what words are actually censored in China. It also has a different idea in terms of promoting discussion around certain projects. So my year 8s are currently doing a project about Kodu identity theft, and we use this to get some ideas to define the difference between fraud and identity theft. My year 13s are currently doing about graphics, so a starter activity was to actually say the output of a graphic could be either on a mobile device or via the desktop, and from this particular infographic, and looking at the BBC website both on their mobiles and online, we then produced this particular double bubble map, which was a compare and contrast, and a great way to actually promote some ideas in terms of the comparison between the two. Line of Wit is another great tool that we use both as a starter and also as a plenary, and this is the Scratch help desk, whereby students use this to post their own problems that they had, and then students either checked it periodically or at the end of the lesson we actually discussed any particular problems that were out there that hadn't been solved. For example, how to make my sprite bounce on a trampoline, or other ideas, how do I get it to disappear when touching another sprite. Another example of using Line of Wit for starters is it actually embeds video on there. So this is an example whereby students had to look at either two of these videos or one of them and post an idea in terms of what were the benefits of the particular way of protecting themselves on Twitter, because they all have Twitter accounts, or what were their initial emotions of that. So and as you can see, they could then post their own particular post-its online there. One other idea is to use word clouds either for discussion. I've used this from with my students when we did a thought activity whereby they had to discuss what were good parts of particular games when they were planning their Scratch games, and this uses Tuxedo. You could use Wordle. What I like about this is that it actually has interactivity on certain words, and we can refer back to when we're actually having starters or plenaries and other aspects of that. Something I just discovered with Tuxedo was you can actually do searches on on particular things, and it will create a word cloud based upon something that you're searching for. So for example, if I was looking for digital studies, I could put it in there, I can choose whichever shape I wanted, the orientation, and then when I submit, what it generally does then from Tuxedo, it generates a word cloud from the search criteria I've just actually typed in. So it could be something in terms of what's in the news or any particular, and that was a particular hashtag, and again it pulls out each particular word that's in the word cloud as it is. One other way of using images would be the BBC website, which is a good promotion for discussion in terms of common topics. And that's really good in terms, that's a day in pictures, good for PSHE lessons. The Bing website has an image of the day, which sometimes is quite relevant to maybe something that you're discussing in class. Another way, which is something we always look at in class, is using Creative Commons or Flickr search, where you can put something in there. This is Chinese censorship, and you can use the slideshow, and what that does, it actually puts a slideshow on the front of the screen as the students are entering your class, and it can add as a moment of discussion. One final thing is we have the traffic light system in school. I was always uncomfortable with the idea of having the red at the top, as in what students didn't understand. So to promote the ethos of celebrating what they actually do understand, we have a question and answer, and if they've celebrated something, then they can leave the room in terms of that, or they can use post-it notes, a bit similar to my line or it. Right, thank you for listening. I hope you found that quite useful. That is me, Chris Allan, Infernal Report, and there's my blog, infernalreport.com. And enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.